Good evening, my dear brothers and sisters. We all have devices of every kind: smartphone, iPad mini, laptops, desktop. There's probably barely a day that go by without you browsing and checking your messages or posting or uploading pictures and videos or video calling with someone on social media. It probably happens all the time. It is pretty remarkable that now more than ever, we have become so connected with one another. Philippines to the US to Europe, the world has become so small due to connectivity. In fact, one of the wonders of cyberspace is that community is formed, and these communities are doing creative things together. In the Philippines, for example, one lady started a community pantry in their neighborhood where people can bring their own donations and where people can get what they need for the day. It is a simple setup of tables, no cash register, nothing. It only has a tagline: give what you can, take what you need. And this community pantry initiative became viral that in a matter of days, hundreds of community pantries sprung up everywhere in the entire country, helping thousands of poor and needy families in this time of pandemic. All because cyberspace has connected people and has paved the way for communities to be formed. But also, as you know, studies show that even in the advent of social media, people feel more isolated than ever, more alone than ever, more, ironically, disconnected from each other than before. Apparently, no amount of social interaction can take the space of really being with each other. That despite of the many quote-unquote likes that you get, despite of the many views that you gain, they cannot replace a human hug or a smile or a handshake or of being physically seen by another. And we have realized that as well in this whole pandemic period. During the lockdown, we could see each other virtually through Zoom or Viber or video calls. But nothing can replace the beauty of being there, of being with one another. And what's in physical presence that cannot be replaced? Intimacy. On social media, you may have so many friends, so many followers. Sometimes you have those quote unquote friends whom you really do not know, whom you have never even met, but your friends. And from time to time, you would see his or her posts and would like them, but you're not really invested in the relationship. And again, what is lacking? Intimacy. In the gospel today, Jesus makes it very clear that he does not want us to become his Facebook friends. Rather, he wants us to have a meaningful, deliberate, everlasting relationship with him, a relationship that is present, that is invested, a relationship that is intimate. He says today in the gospel, I am the vine, you are the branches. Imagine the intimacy between the vine and the branch. The branch gets its life and sustenance from the vine. Without the vine, the branch will die. So the branch is totally dependent on the vine. That's the kind of intimacy that Jesus wants us to have with him. Why? Because the truth is we cannot do things on our own. We need him. He himself said, just as a branch cannot bear fruit on its own unless it remains on the vine, so neither can you unless you remain in me. There is an old story about Albert Einstein. He was going around the country from university to university on the lecture circuit, giving lectures on his theory of relativity. He traveled by chauffeur-driven limousine. One day, after they had been on the road for a while, Einstein's chauffeur said to him, Dr. Einstein, I've heard you deliver that lecture on relativity so many times. I'll bet I could deliver it myself. Very well, the good doctor responded, I'll give you that opportunity tonight. The people at the university where I am to lecture have never seen me. So before we get there, I'll put on your cap and uniform, and you will introduce me as your chauffeur and yourself as me. And then you can give the lecture. For a while that evening, everything went according to plan. The chauffeur delivered the lecture flawlessly. But as the lecture concluded, a professor in the audience rose and asked a complex question involving mathematical equations and formulas. The quick-thinking chauffeur replied, Sir, the solution to that problem is so simple, I'm really surprised you've asked me to give it to you. Indeed, to prove to you just how simple it is, I'm going to ask my chauffeur to step forward and answer your question. Friends, sometimes we can have the temptation of thinking, well, I can do it on my own. I can already do it. I have learned enough about life. I can be on my own now. We can do that in our human relationships, but not with God. We should not with God, because there's nothing else more rewarding than to remain closely connected with God. There's nothing else more rewarding than to remain deeply rooted in God. For when unexpected things happen, we have a friend to call, a friend who can offer us what we truly need: life, salvation, life eternal. Amen.